It's always in the news, but we know that it must be going on for men. First question is, who's doing the abusing of men?
Well, there are two sides to this abuse, Peter. It could, both men and women. I mean, there are studies or stats that would bear witness to the fact that if you go to mosques, I mean, the number of men who get killed by other men, and we don't talk about it, but also there are, I mean, there are men who would be violated by women, but that also would not get reported because, Peter, the reasons are, I think one would argue, obvious in that you would not want to be labeled as being unmanly if you go and report, or if you show pain, or even if you say that I'm vulnerable. So all of these things that all of us society must be alive to and begin to talk about.
What type of abuse typically does a man suffer at the hands of a woman?
It would be emotional abuse, psychological abuse. I mean, emotional would be where this man finds himself unemployed, but he would always be reminded that, you know, what type of a man are you? When men are out there working and showing that there's bacon, you know, where a man would always be compared to other men who are so-called successful, you know, who are making it, who have arrived, who are doing it. And this man finds himself at the lowest ebb of his life, where Peter always is told, but you can't be a real man because you don't drive a certain type of car. You don't stay at a certain, you know, the correct, appropriate address. You know, you don't wear a particular certain type of label. So all of these things, a man would always be reminded of how, if you like, how useless you are.
Do we have any idea of the prevalence of this kind of abuse?
Well, I think we do not have, because you don't have statistics, and the reasons are that you know, it's not your physical, it's not your easily recognizable type of abuse. As a result, you know, statistics would not be there. Those that you would have would be when men kill other men, and then that's one area, when Peter, that at South Africa, at South Africans and in the world, we don't talk about because we tend to think that, you know, it's okay when men violate each other because it's in the nature of their being, it's in their DNA. We are told that this is how men must behave.
And I would imagine also that, you know, it's one thing to report physical abuse to a police station, but where do you go to report emotional abuse, even if you do get the courage to report it?
Well, you go to psychologists, go to social workers, but again, Peter, let's go back. How many of us who would be man enough, if you like, to say, you know, I am vulnerable, I am weak, I'm in pain, I need help, where you have always been told that, you know, you can't display signs of vulnerability, because if you do that, there's something wrong. Society says there's something inherently wrong about you when you show these signs.
Do men even recognize abuse when it's happening to them? Because I would imagine, as you say, we're under these pressures anyway. Would they even know that, actually, do you know what, I'm being abused here?
I doubt, because then you would think that it's in the course of being man enough, you know, and then you would always want to live up to what society says, that, you know, take it on the chin. Even if where you are heading, you are in pain, you would think that it's rather normal. This is what we are expected to be as men, Peter.
What do we do?
We seek help, we speak up, but also, more importantly, we in fact even begin to look at how we raise our own children, how we raise boys, how we raise girls, but how we also begin a process of saying to men that there is something inherently wrong about us always feeling to be, or wanting to be in control, in charge, even in situations that you would think, you would know that, Peter, that I am weak, you know, I can't, I don't have answers. So it's important for us to begin to reconstruct, rethink of what it means to be a man.
I would imagine that women need to be educated as well, because again, they may not realize that what they're doing is actually abuse, because in their minds, being hit is abuse. But the way they talk to their men could be very damaging.
It's very important, yes. I would fully agree with you, Peter, because also is it's how the packaging. If you continue to send messages that I am unsuccessful, if you always continue to tell me that I am not vulnerable, I'm strong, you are creating an environment where I would always know that for me to be successful, for me to be strong, to be a real man, I would have to exhibit certain characteristics of being very violent, of being macho, of being strong.
What are the consequences of prolonged violence? You often hear about women, if they've been abused for a long period of time, they break out one day and sometimes kill their partners. Could the same happen if a woman continues to abuse their husbands and their partners?
Well, yes, because what would happen with men is that you bottle this up. You don't seek help. So ultimately, it must find an outlet, Peter. And then what's the nature of the outlet? Is you may hear instances where someone says, I lost it. I never thought about it, because it means these were pent up emotions. It means, Peter, these were things that I was not able to deal with. And I always argue and ask myself, if I'm not able to deal with my pain, where does that go to? So it's critical, it's very important to say to South African men, we must stand up, we must speak up, we must also reject these, what I call, social scripts.
Right. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but essentially the message is, go and get help, speak up, speak out.
Absolutely, it helps you. And we have your Tutuzela care centers throughout the country, the social worker, the male, psychologists, psychiatrists who are out there to help, who will not judge you, who will not condemn you, who will not vilify you.
All right. Mbuyiselo Botha, thank you very much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us on this day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, that's where we'll leave it for the time being. There'll be more coming up on the program. And I've got to tell you, we've got a fantastic music.